and welcome to the next broadcast of the Dan and Tank Show equals Dank. That's what I named this one. We were playing around with the name before, and so when we had Dan and Tank, we get Dank. Now, of course, when I hear Dank, being from the medical marijuana industry, it was a dank bud was always there, so it meant something very good. So it is an interesting name to call it, and Stefan has made a couple of kind of graphics, basically with us as animated 3D characters, so anyway, we were playing around with that. So a lot of interesting things going on in the world now. Before Tank joins us, I'm going to go through a couple of things. Very interesting. Now, I usually have my next broadcast screen up on the screen behind me, but I actually want to play something there, and then we can discuss it a little bit. So it's a YouTube video I found. I just heard about this. I believe it was on a Fox broadcast this morning. And it's about the Pope creating a new edict. So we can, maybe I'll wait a little bit before we go into that. But again, this is just from today, and I just found one it's a one of those robotic voice reading a script. We're going to listen to a minute of it. I'll just wait for Tank to get on, and then we can discuss it all together. So that's one thing. Now, in regards to the QAnon things that are happening there, so many interesting things in this time period, because now that the Mueller report is over, there's now the offense has begun, right? So the roles are shifting, and shift may also be shifted out. There's a lot of heat on him right now, lying to the public for so many years, and now they're going around scrambling. Say, well, it doesn't say that he was, shouldn't be, and there must be something more in those 400 pages. And they're just trying to beat the dead horse at this time. The horse, is dead, and they're not going to be able to revive it. There's already been 2 other investigative reports, and they both came up negative. And then Mueller came up negative, and now there's going to be an IG report. And they're going to and Barr is going to release the entire report minus the things that they're not allowed to by law. Well, so I don't know, what's 90, 95, 98, 99.9% of everything that he's going to release. He's going to release as much as possible. So there won't be anything that'll be left. The real question is, why did it take 2.5 years to get to this point? But now the offense has occurred and it started with sex trafficking type of QAnon dropping a bunch of stuff about sex trafficking. You can see that I use qmap.pub, qmap.pub. And it's a very well organized site, and so we also are seeing some indictments that are coming down. We're starting to see, now they're flipping things around and saying, now we have to investigate what was the problem, what happened in the Justice Department and the FBI that caused this problem. Is they went after the president and called him a traitor for 2 years. So what happened there? Is there anything that was wrong, or it was all very appropriate? And as we know, it was all very wrong, paid for by Hillary Clinton, the report, and the Democratic National Committee. So this was something that was orchestrated as a tactic to remove him, including the act of using I think they call the what was it? It was a way of removing the president for not being competent. I don't know if it was I want to call it an edict because of the Pope thing, but number 20, I think it was number 25 of some Amendment 25. Maybe that was it. Maybe it's probably it's a constitutional amendment. So this whole thing is now shifting, right? The energy flow is shifting. And that's a very important, and kind of one of the things that I'm leading up to, not just with this that we're going to watch in the Pope, and what I'm pointing out is the shift between the defensive to the offensive positioning, is that there's been an energy shift. There is now this whole you can feel it. I mean, Stefan Tank has been saying that the vibration of the planet has gone up to 180 instead of 7. So it's many times greater amount of energy, and I think that we're just tapping the beginning of this. There's a lot that's coming down the line in regards to this energy shift. So there's going to be more of this that we should start noticing, because we're talking about manifesting quite a different world. And most people are still just groggy asleep. They can't manifest very much. They manifest them waking up in the morning with coffee and heading onto the road and getting to their job, and then they come back and they do the same thing the next day. So that's for them to wake up to all these other things that are going on is a bit much at all at one time, but they are feeling it. They're experiencing it as well. So this energy, high energy feeling that everyone is experiencing, is predominantly spreading. So these are just some of the things that I wanted to point out that are leading us to where we are with, say, Manna World Holding Trust, and what Kim is doing, to move things forward, and the team. Thomas Williams is there, working alongside to make these things happen. And this energy is emanating, and we're picking up a lot of the things, like the letter from the Fijian people yesterday, for sovereignty. This is a very big step, right? And if they, as a independent sovereign nation, are taking money in from the trust publicly, this would be the first. I know that Tank said there were many countries that took the money, but they didn't come out in public about it. And this is, it's kind of like they're just getting their toe wet, I guess. Hey, is this real? We got some money. But if they now try and shift, they have the whole system against them. Any of the nations out there that did not fall in line with the central banking system became on the enemies list, and they were pummeled, right? They were even Russia, who's taken over their central bank and had that not controlled by the Rothschilds anymore, has been on the enemies list to some extent. So we're looking at this shift in the world, and we just have to notice that these things are happening. So I think since Tank has not jumped on yet, maybe he might take a little bit longer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through with this video. Let me turn this a little bit more easier to see. I'm just going to press play. Maybe. There we go.
Pope issues law with penalties for Vatican City to address sexual abuse. Rome new Pope Francis has issued a highly anticipated law for Vatican City officials and diplomats overseas to tackle sexual abuse, setting up what is intended to be a model for the Roman Catholic Church worldwide by requiring for the first time, that accusations be immediately reported to Vatican prosecutors. The Vatican characterized the law and accompanying pastoral guidelines as a reflection of the most advanced thinking on preventing and addressing sexual abuse in the church.
I think that's good enough. So, if we think that is a sign of the Pope working with Manna World Holding Trust, that would make sense. Oh, Tank just joined us. Hello.
Hello.
So I just played this video. I don't know. Did you get to catch what it said?
I caught it. I caught at least the idea from it earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So I was just saying that this looks like it's where the trust is. So that that the Pope was working with the trust, right, and wanting to basically. And what was the requirements for them to clean house, right? Clean up their act. How would you put it?
To clean out the Catholic Church, basically get them to a state where they're where it's not an accepted practice to molest kids.
Yeah.
That's so there actually has to be something governing that, which obviously the Catholic Church is not doing themselves. So there seems like that's actually happening.
So
that's pretty exciting.
I just want to one difference I heard on this video, which is just a robotic voice reading a script, and what I saw on this clip on the Fox News was the difference was on Fox News it said to contact authorities. On this, it basically said to contact a department inside of the Catholic Church. So that was a little bit different than what I heard on the news, which is of note, because anything that happens on the mainstream media, which Fox is part of, it's controlled opposition. And so when we're talking about, looking at anything coming from the news, we have to just take it with a big giant grain of salt, about this big. So and then we can kind of dig into it. Anyway, I think it's important to point out that this is a shift in the energy. That we're already experiencing some very dramatic changes, and what's happened with the QAnon movement. They've gone from a defensive posture to an attacking posture. The things happening inside the with the FISA gate and all the rest of these things have now, it's more offensive. They're now shifted. Say, okay, well, it wasn't Trump. Now, who was it? Where'd the problem come from? Now let's investigate. Let's look. And then the Democrats are all saying, no, we still have to investigate the Russian collusion. So anyway, so I see this is a major change in energy in the flow.
Yeah, I feel great about everything going on right now. To be honest, Kim was in a pretty fun. I want to say fun, but she was frustrated. Obviously, during the call last night, she actually let me know that they at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, they launched a hit squad to go hunt down Kim and kill her, basically. So that's one of those obstacles that the average a banker or programmer probably doesn't have to deal with on a regular basis. And then she told me, she sent me a hilarious video that I can't repeat because there were so many F-bombs dropped in it. But it was hilarious because it was this guy and he's like, if you're receiving this, it's because it's because someone wants to know what were you thinking, and then it's a lot of prolific language and it's like, what were you thinking, what did you think was going to happen, right? And she said, this is what I want to send to Dunford right now, right? Because Dunford was doing something with the secret space program, right, that isn't normally broadcast or shared, obviously, thus the name secret space program. And then one of the intuitives I speak with, they told me that they were in and there was a some kind of hierarchical energy grid that went down. And so I love when I get information like that, right? Because I throw it at Kim, and And I said, Kim, the Sears were telling me this, that there was an energy grid that went down. And Kim said, yes, they're right. And there was a hierarchical energy grid that went down. And as soon as it did, they launched an all-out attack, right? So there's hit squads all over, because there's a price on Kim's head. And so
But where would they
they're
get
out
the
right.
money to pay it?
Well, that's a great point, and I think that fact has saved a lot of their lives because they think they get up to talk to her or to not talk to her, but to kill her. And they're approached by certain individuals who say, they don't have the money and to even pay you, and amongst other things, there was a hit squad that went up there of about 40 plus guys who were all there to kill Kim because in 2007, um, when the previous comptroller closed, he shut off the back ledger, right? He shut off the unknown country. So what everyone had been used to is that they could just go access that at any time. And what the Rothschilds would do on a regular basis is they would pay the various private military and mercenaries who would work for them and protect them and carry out their, probably their protection and their dirty deeds, right? They would earn money for each one of these things, and they would keep this money on the back ledger. And they would think, we'll keep that money there, and then they'll save you on taxes. They would act like they were doing them a favor, the benevolent, evil villains that they are. And what happened in 2007, all those guys, all their money is trapped on the back ledger, and they can't get it. So they tried to, what the Chinese elders did is they blamed Kim. They said she stole your money, and so they went up there to kill her. And when they got there, they were met by a group of Kim security who talked them out of it. Basically said, "Look," and they showed them. They said, "Look, there's no way this could have happened by Kim because she didn't have access till 2012. So it's someone else that shut this off." Now, in that moment, a lot of these guys, I mean, they have millions and millions of dollars, right? Each one of these guys have lots of money in there, and but there's no name attached. It's just account numbers, right? So that for the most part, I'm sure they don't even know. It's probably just the Chinese elders and whoever knew them, right? Because they had no intention of giving it to them. They were just gonna steal it. So basically, that happened, and then from that point on, we were trying our best to get a lot of these guys who I had contacts with, um, to get them to realize, like, look, we can give you access to your money that's on the back ledger. But by the time we got to them, they'd already been promised this massive $1 payout from the RV, right? Like, oh, you're going to be the kings of the world. You're going to, they would give them dinar and all types of money that had no real value, and they'd say it's going to revalue and you're going to be the boss, right? And you can do whatever you want. So when we offered, at least on a few occasions, we would get in these conversations and we'd identify the account of the individual we were speaking with, and in one case, there was $15 million on the back ledger for this individual. It was his. We identified it. And all he had to do was submit a mission statement for what he wanted to do. And, a week went by, and I thought, a week to do a mission statement is excessive because I feel like, we would have had it done immediately. And he never came back because he was working directly with the Chinese elders to, doing a whole bunch of busy work, to process bonds, right? Which is apparently takes like 15 years to get
Yeah.
to fill out some paperwork. Basically, is what has been going on. So everybody has done multiple versions of paperwork for bonds and all these different things, and he was one of them. So he never accessed his money. But if he would have just made a mission statement, he would have $15 million sitting in the bank right now, versus having nothing in the bank except empty promises. And that is the way it has been working so far. So, um, yeah. So, but Kim said that it set off a whole bunch of alarms, and so she's obviously working, and she's in kind of a fun mood whenever she sends videos out. Even if they're like that, it's means she's in good spirits, which makes me happy because I know that means we're, uh, you know, we really should have had it finished, right? And I'm not sure exactly what Dunford did, although pretty much, I don't think it's hard to figure out. It's like, what do they do? The exact same thing over and over and over again, right? It's like they try some concocted scheme to access money that isn't theirs. They try to steal it some way. Then that doesn't work. Then they try to hack the trust. That never works. So then they try to kill Kim, right? And then they repeat.
That won't
And
work either.
No, that won't work either. Then they go to the government and say, well, what happened was there was a and they come up with some cockamamie excuse as to why the RV didn't go down. No, you have to understand this is the frequency isn't high enough. It's the people's fault. It's or whatever the current excuse is that they're going to use to um to try to trap all of us and
We
make
have
us
to
feel
wait for
like
the next blood moon. When is the next blood moon?
right. I don't know. You know,
Well, I
it's
think
hard to
they're
say.
over. I think they're over for quite a while. I think we get the blood moons and this 3 times blood moon in a year thing. It's like that's like happens once every, I don't know, 10,000 years or whatever. I don't remember, but it's a long time. I don't know when the next blood moon is, but some
Well,
reason
yeah,
will be.
whatever it is they're doing, it's the same repetitive process. And what I would hope, but to the point, in addition to that, what you shared about the Pope, I don't know if anybody, I'm sure lots of people saw this video where he kept pulling his hand back, right, with the rings, right.
Oh yeah,
So I'm not sure what ring he's wearing anymore, but it used to be, they were one of the Dragon family rings, right? So I have these. I might have sent them to you actually. Kim had shared these with me a long time ago. These Dragon family rings, right? And they're different colors for the different Dragon families. And never. She told me a long time. She said never kiss the ring, right? And never put the ring on because it's this some kind of greater symbol of something. And but the Pope, I mean, obviously, like whatever they reported on the news that he wasn't comfortable with people kissing his ring. That's never been the case with any other pope. They love that, because if you watched when the Pope came to the United States in like September of 2015 or 16, I mean, every single world leader bowed down and kissed the Pope's ring. And I think that if his title is the Vicar of the Son of God, right? So that means he's the one who speaks direct. He's like it's viewed that he speaks directly to God. He has the authority, according to the Baltimore Catechism, to speak infallibly, meaning whatever he says is absolute doctrine at times, right? He has to announce it first. And but in reality, right, according to the divine plan, which was really a plan of the order, right, to replace um, what people thought was God, but just a different type of God outside of them, with Marduk, right? Like this, he would have been the new God, or this top level would have been the gods. So I can see how, like, if he was the intercessor, maybe he was the one, who actually spoke to Marduk or something. And that's how he got that feared reputation.
Interesting.
That's why people think that he's the head of, the order. Everybody attributes it to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, so I was just thinking a couple of things. Like I had a flash back on a Trey Smith video that was up where he was talking about the elongated skulls, right, of the people. Oh, he basically says, these are the beings that were around back then. Here they are. Physically, they're here. They're probably still here. And look at the Pope, in the long hats, right? So. When he spoke to Marduk, did Marduk have a big long head, or is that the parents that had the big long head, or where does the
Marduk was a draconian, so I don't know if that applied. I
probably
mean,
not? Yeah, probably that makes much. But wasn't he still but he was still half. I mean, he was a mix.
right? He's like the great or the grandson of Anu, right? That's how it
Yeah.
goes,
Uh,
right? So, but all I know is that Kim said when his skin dropped, he was a big white dragon. That's you know. So I, I like, and that was firsthand. So I mean, that's that. As far as I'm concerned, that's who he was. I don't know what else.
Flash into the
What else that might
Jupiter
be.
ascending, movie where they had the ones that look dragon-esque. Yeah. Uh, so if we're looking at having the how to say this, the transition with the Catholic Church, into a positive frame, you know, uh, I was flashing back to David Wilcox in the video that I saw, last week, I guess, and he was kind of laying out this is what's going on, right? Now I know Thomas is saying, he's like the ringleader of all the psyops, right? So I don't know if I could really give him that, coordination capability, as part of his makeup, but it could be an act. Don't know. But, one of the things that he's laying out there, and he said, is that so the Rothschilds being the most amount of reptilian DNA, right? Their the most amount of this bloodline of the small g gods, right? Is that when they start, even though they've done all these very horrible things, right? All of the most horrible satanic worship things that we can talk about, even though they've done all those things, look what's in Antarctica. Look at these. This is the stuff that's coming from the technology from us, right? And we're going to reveal all of this. So, yeah, we did all these bad things, but let's not talk about that. Let's look at all these wonderful things, all this great new technology that's going to be there, and this is going to be their play, right? Is that
Yeah.
we want you to still worship us, right, as gods, because we got all this technology, and yes, we did all these things, but we're gods, right? So this is the play. I'm going, well, I don't see how that plays.
Well,
I,
it
I don't see how,
doesn't play, but we have to kind of look at it and see through it, right? And call their bluff. I just posted this link in your chat because I was cracking up when I saw this. But if you saw what I forget what the guy's name is, but one of the congressmen did in Congress to talk about the Green New Deal is hilarious. It is the best. He's my new favorite politician. Um, he basically picked apart the new Green Deal and basically was like, okay, now according to we're going to give the new Green Deal exactly the amount of serious consideration that it deserves, just as serious as it is. And he shows like Ronald Reagan on a terrestrial raptor or something, or like on a T-Rex, and the T-Rex is holding the American flag. He's basically like, the new Green Deal has as much to do with saving the environment as this picture does with fighting communism in the 80s. It's hilarious. But I posted the video in your video feed before I jumped on because I just couldn't resist. I just clipped the parts where they're talking. But I think that's what this all deserves, right? I think you kill it by just being like, wait, have we really taken this seriously? It's like waking up and realizing that, like, you're the star character in a sitcom, and it's really hard to take things seriously when you realize, wait, this isn't real, right? Like, this can't be the reality. Like, we're not all pretending like this is still the case, right? And Kim was just, I mean, like, literally, she just texted me like 3 seconds ago. She was just talking about this because how can you take these guys? What are they doing? Like, what is it that they are offering? How do they not see what's happening? She said they can't be human. They can't be human because any human being would see, if you keep doing this, you're going to destroy the planet, right? So why would you keep on? It doesn't make sense.
I want to know where I'm going to get hamburgers.
You want to know where I think they're going to be made by 3D printer somehow.
Yeah,
Out
maybe.
of plasma.
Yeah.
I'm banking on the 3D printers being able to create, or not 3D printer, whatever they're called, the manifest machines.
There was really a 3D printer that did print burgers and steak. Right. And the only problem is it tastes nothing like burgers or steak. It was made out of peas and something else. I forgot what else. And literally, it would.
That's a pretty big problem. It's like, I could make hamburgers out of clay. It doesn't make them a hamburger, right?
Yeah.
No.
Well, that is one of the points. I always wondered. I mean, I spent a lot of time in India, and I actually had this practice, and I would go back and forth all the time. And when I would go, I would actually alternate my trips. One trip I would be vegetarian, and the next trip they would call it non-veg. I mean, the standard is vegetarian, and so I'd go veg, non-veg, more for just the experience of the food, to go back and forth. And both instances where food were great, but there was never in India where they basically said, well, there's a meat dish over there. We're going to imitate it in vegetables.
Right.
why, why do you want to make a veggie burger? You're striving to achieve something, right? Why? Why are
Well,
you
you know
doing
what?
it? Eat just vegetables, and the best way to put them together. I mean, why you want to 3D print, peas and some other mush into, what you call a burger or a steak?
Well, and it's silly, really. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still processed food, right? Any food that is ground up into one thing, then reshaped into something else is processed, right? That's a process. So as a rule, if it's processed, it is not good for your body because who knows what they put in the process, right? Like, how do you get that to stick together so perfectly? How does it last for months on a shelf? All those things are questions in this new age that we can ask. But I think to intelligently ask those questions and have all these people waking up, you have to first put things in place that allow them to make better choices, right?
Well, I had a friend of mine that was an avid fast food person. He only wanted to eat fast food burgers and that. So and I do on occasion have a fast food burger, mostly because there's nothing else around that's available. Right? It's like, okay, well, I have to eat something. I'll eat. Right? So, but he was coming over, so I got him this burger. It was McDonald's. And he canceled, right? But I left his hamburger. We were out. It was outdoors. It was a porch area, so I left it there, right? Not, and I forgot about it, right? And so the raccoons had come by, right? And they opened it up, and they didn't eat it, right?
Of
They ate the
course.
French fries. They ate the French fries, but they didn't touch the burger. Not even the bun. They opened it. They looked at it, and they decided not to eat it.
Of course.
and,
Of course.
and that was pretty interesting. You know,
Yeah, because animals know when something is food or when it's poison. They
I've
have a
also
natural instinct.
I've seen also with insects. Ants that wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
perfect sense.
they just look at it as another obstacle on the landscape, right?
Right.
Now we got to walk
Yeah,
around
that's
this
right.
thing, right? Yeah. So
Well, I think that's so. You know what? I actually was contacted by someone. I am a big fan of these. Cure for Hunger. .com, Cure for Hunger. They have Skunkworks technology. They have They have the rights to develop these food domes, right? And food dome technology is really really impressive, right? It's a completely chemical free environment, right? It keeps all of the toxins out, right? So it creates essentially a sterile environment, a growing environment, right? And then it's using atmospheric water generators to abstract, fresh water from the air, and then also produces, to water the plants, and does it automatically, and then also creates, excessive. I want to say about around 2,000 gallons of drinking water per day, and then it also uses some kind of a version of free energy, that they can generate, power. So you can drop this anywhere and basically access.
I have the web page up on the screen now. I just
Okay.
happen to have it already loaded. Cure for Hunger, a global solution.
Now here's how we're going to make real global solutions happen, right? So that's what they have, and that's the tech part, right? And they're a really the guy who runs that. His name is Eric. I can't remember his last name, but he's really amazing, and he's invested, and uh, he's all in on this, and he can really make it happen, right? And but he's getting beat up right now, to be honest, right? Because funding isn't coming through anywhere, and unfortunately, and we are one of the one of the sources who I really want to fund the development of this company, and I think it's technology that, even though we're going to kind of transmute things to a different age very soon, right? Where we'll have just organic farms probably, and it won't even be an issue. But there's definitely a need for this immediately, right? And it's something they could produce immediately, right? So, but the funding is not coming through, and then the funding that is supposed to come through is usually it's big promises from companies that basically want to kill the tech, right? We'll buy 50,000 of these from you, right? And I think their first year production is like 500 units, right? That they could do if we bought their whole first year production and put them all over the world, they could do 500. So to buy up 50,000, they're basically saying, like, we're going to make sure you can't do anything for the next 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, right?
Right.
So they do things like that. But then our organic farm team out of Denmark with Susan Hobman, she informed me, like, there's certain things that are very necessary with the soil if you're going to do that, and she has a whole other knowledge on this, right? To make this product even better. I mean, it's already awesome, right? It's really amazing. And but the organic farm team from Denmark, they're going to kick it up a notch and help make it better. And I actually have another organic farmer who told me the same thing, and I can't remember their name, so I do apologize for that. But my point is, that's how we make the world a better place, right? Is you take real people that have amazing ideas and you connect them, right? And then you get even better ideas, right? That we can all be like, wait a minute. So basically, instead of fast food and processed boxes and shelves filled with basically what is like astronaut food, right? Um, what we'll have instead is real, organic, from the earth, fresh produce that you could have. I mean, you could put up one of these little domes and have. I mean, my dream is to do this. I'm going to do this. Is to put one of these right in the middle of Manhattan. Right in the middle of Manhattan. How are you going to ignore it then, right? Because in this one device, you're introducing free energy, fresh drinking water from the air, and you're introducing that we can all have organic, fresh, homegrown, right? Like, locally grown produce right in the middle of Manhattan all year round. I mean, that to me is such a groundbreaking maneuver, right? And that's the way things need to be done, right? Publicly, absolutely, without any issues. Because at the end of the day, all the nonsensical ways they want to fight things, right? I figure in New York, how hard would it be to get that permit? It's like, hey, didn't you guys just pass a bill to kill babies? Can't we agree that fresh fruits and vegetables, it doesn't hurt anyone? Could we do that too? Or if you voted that down, don't you think like that could potentially cause mutiny? you know? So I'm just excited about all that stuff right now.
I hear you. Well, we have a lot to do, and we're close. So let's hopefully we're going to start this, pretty quickly. I know that we're bringing a lot of energy to the things that we're doing. We're bringing a lot of people like TUI into this, and I'm sure there's others, that are around the world that will start showing up from the 12 tribes, the 5 expressions, however we want to see the people that are showing up to represent the different people to move forward. So we're taking our steps forward now.
Yes, we are. And by the way, more and more people are coming forward and getting the courage to stand up. And I can't emphasize this enough. The safest place to hide is in plain sight, because on top of being arrogant as can possibly be, they are also vain, right? So they don't want to be exposed for the frauds they are.
Right.
So, when you come out publicly and you're talking about things for exactly what they are, you essentially end up having really 2 options, right? Either you clean up your behavior, or you start taking out people. When you start taking out public figures right after they talk about you,
Right.
it tends to raise some red flags. Now, the question is, though, who enforces those laws, right? Because when you have someone like General Dunford, who's, supposed to be the head guy, right? He should be the biggest advocate for the people, but he's got different plans. It would seem that he has a different agenda and a different loyalty to the people. So where is that loyalty to? It's clearly not to the president because he's not cooperating with the president.
Right.
I mean, these things are, and these are pretty much absolute facts. We have corroborated evidence on the actions of Nancy Pelosi to literally create a disaster, a tragedy right in Washington, D.C., specific action to kill the president and a majority of both Democrats and Republicans and their staff, and with no concern for any of them, not their families, not anything about them, right? And the evidence of that is the chaos that would have ensued after that. I mean, if you could just imagine for a moment, right now, there's been an attack not just on U.S. soil, but directly on the Capitol, right? So you have an attack on the Capitol that blows it up and kills all of your, what we thought previously would be our leaders, right? Now, if that happens, what you have is now you have a major disaster. It's an act of war. So the next step is, who do you want to go to war with? Right? Because that's what they would do next, right? It's kind of like after the 9/11, they were like, quick, figure out how we blame this on Iraq. Right? And that was the game plan. So in like mind, you can imagine they probably would have blamed this attack on Russia, right? And then they would have tried to force us to go to war with Russia somehow.
Right.
Or they would have just, they would have blamed, President Trump getting killed, by an attack like this on President Trump somehow. Like somehow they would have blamed him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're still blaming him for the high tension, right? The people that are so upset against him, it's all his fault.
You know what? Actually, and you know what? In their defense, this is true. It's true because the ones who do these false flags and the ones who do these tragic things, they are people like that he is specifically going after, like Hillary Clinton and John Podesta and Mueller, right? These are all people or I don't know if Mueller is one of them, but Comey, individuals he's specifically going after, and he's right. They are like very violent, and they get very stressed out. So he's creating a stressful environment for the bad guys, and so they're creating horrible situations. Now that's not what they mean, but
No, I go along with your scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Creating a hostile working environment for them, right? Because they are the bad guys that need to be removed from the work environment.
Yes.
We need to clean this up completely. Actually, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh on Fox, and he had made a comment. He said, "This is not the time to basically say, okay, let's move on to the next topic. No, this is where you focus now on where the problem came from, and you route it out, because you have to beat it into non-existence." I don't know, that's not his wording, but basically he was making the point is that you cannot let this go. You have to make sure that they cannot come back from this. The bad people that did this have to go, whether it is into prison or out of the government or execution for treason. Whatever the level at which they deserve, that justice needs to be enacted at this point, and they can't have two sets of laws. That's they're also saying that Jesse Smollett, this is one of the things that QAnon basically they outlined it beforehand. And of course, it's one of those things that doesn't make any sense when Q posts something, and then later on it comes back and you say, "Oh, okay, now that makes sense." They were saying that Smollett was going to be let off. So, but why? Why would they, want to promote this to the understanding? And it's because they want to show the contrast, the two sets of rules the ones for the elites and ones for the rest of us. And the elites will be let get off of any possible crime. I mean, that was, if you could even call it a slap on the wrist, he's at the level at which he was creating this scenario. It was an attack against the majority of the country, and the people that would be, MAGA supporters. So.
Yeah. So that was so him getting off was part of the good guys' plan. Am I that what I understand?
I'm not part of the plan of him to get off, but to focus on showing what happens, what the situation is now.
Oh, I see.
Right. It's not like let's orchestrate this. They're watching and say, look, this is what they're going to do. Right. See, there's two sets of rules. And then they direct the conversation, on our talking points, right, to the opposition talking points of saying, like I just said, is that there's two sets of rules. And then that actually gets picked up and is now on Fox. And I start talking about QAnon now. They can't avoid it anymore because that's where the majority of people are getting news now.
Yeah.
And it's also said that the CNN fell below 1 million viewers. Which used to be the
Really.
Yeah. That used to be the what would say that you were you've made it, right? If you make it to 1 million viewers. Oh, by the way, we've had last month 1.1 or 1.2 million views.
Wow. All right.
Hey,
all right.
Views is wrong. Minutes of viewing. Sorry.
Hey, I'll take it. That's fine. If anyone asks me.
Oh, also, 12,000 subscribers. Yeah, we hit that last night. So 12,000 subscribers. So that was about 600 plus over the last month.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, look, we're making progress, and it's always a good sign when Kim is communicating, and it means that she feels comfortable and safe enough to share certain things, and so that's great news. I mean, I know that this part is done. She's done everything legally. She's done everything within her power, and she's set up all the pieces so that we can move forward. And the next step is definitely the project funding side, where we can actually start to disperse money in a manner that is conducive with the best interest of all humanity. Now, that's the world we're creating. That's why the focus right now needs to be less on them and more on us, right? More on the people, like all of us. And by focusing on what we are as a people, what our plans are, how we're going to avoid letting this happen again, and creating this new world is the key to everything. And I think what Tui has been coming on and talking about sovereignty, that the more you tap into that reality, what it means to be sovereign, right? To have the freedom to express yourself fully in all that you are, right? As long as that version of you doesn't hurt anybody else, as long as that doesn't do harm and it works within the harmony of the planet, you can be free, right? And you can finally express yourself for the exact person that you've always been. I mean, you spent a lifetime, Dan, searching for this abundant, a world of abundance, right? Just trying to create this since you were like 3 years old, right? Like
something like that.
Since you were a seaman, you've been trying to get free.
I think I was on a mission even back then. Yeah. I said, okay, let me get in here. I got too much to do.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So since the womb, you've been, since the trek. So
yeah, I came out. I was wide-eyed when I came out. I do know that.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, actually, my son too. When my son came out, no crying. Yeah, and he was
looks around. He's like
looking around. No, and then they slapped him, right? I go.
He's like, "What's wrong with you?
What's going on?" It's like he was out looking around. There was no problem. He was fine. Right? Why did you have to slap him? You gotta get
love
him to
it.
cry. It's like, well, why are you getting him to cry? The first thing he comes out, first thing is there's a shock. Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, you know what? That's that's the way to come out, right? Like kids are happy naturally. Babies for the most part too, right? Crying isn't what we think. They're just expressing themselves for the most part.
So
So,
actually, well, but on that note of like, yeah, I've been understanding, different parts of this whole picture my whole life. That's what everyone does. But in regards to sovereignty, I kind of, wrestled with this idea really when I was 16. That's when I took real good, focus on it and was learning about different things. And it came up, but it really was always this. Well, yeah, it's like, okay, king of your castle, you own your own home in America, and that's your, the American dream: get your own home, build your family, have your own possessions, and that's your kingdom, right? So that's is about as far as it really was. And over the years, where really talked about, the sovereignty movement, it was really about uh, more of whether it was tax protest or anti-government, anti-IRS, Fed. It was all about, this patriot position of being a true American, not a citizen of a corporation. And so I'm actually learning more from TUI about what sovereignty is, even though I've had all this time to experience it and feel it, and even dealing with other let's say island nations or Native American nations that they have a sovereignty, right? And even having our own indigenous group claiming sovereignty. In all of that, the spiritual part of it was never really, maybe it was felt, but it wasn't expressed.
mhm.
So I thought this is what, and learning this from Tui, should probably send him the link now. Yeah,
I
so,
know. I assumed you had them queued up already. It was it was a great intro.
I kind of let us talk for a while, and then about an
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
in, I end up saying, "Oh, well, I got to send the link to Tui."
You know, um, if you were just to anybody on the call, if they were just to follow the example of Tui, um, you know, uh, Tui is always respectful. He is always grateful. He is always looking at, um, what his purpose is and how to best be that. Right now, to me, that embodies sovereignty as much as anything else. Right, is um, recognizing, you know, all that you can tap into, all that you are, and expressing it and allowing it to, just allowing yourself to be yourself and the best version of yourself. That is everything. I always say this, that I've been at war with God my whole life. Because I was raised in a very strict Baptist church, and I mean, and it was terrifying growing up. I mean, I was terrified not to be saved, right? I was terrified of it. And I had a Sunday school teacher who would tell us of what the lake of fire was on a regular every Sunday. Like what, it was always like horrible examples, like from a very ignorant, small-minded person, right? Who would talk about like putting your hand on a stove and these horrifying stories of like, oh my God, I have to believe in Jesus, right? It would terrify you into being part of things. Now, whenever fear is the motivation for something, it can't possibly be good, right? Like if you have to do something, you're never going to be a full expression of who you are, right? Because you're doing it because you have to. But when you love something, everything you do is comes from that place of love. So all the creation that you have, everything you do is an expression of your love for what you're doing. That to me is so much more what it means to be sovereign. And if you don't want to do anything except just meditate on the purpose of life, meaning of life, you can do that too.
Yeah, as long as you can text, you'll be okay.
As long as you, yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, that was my little joke going
Yeah.
around with Tank yesterday about paying people to text. I said it's not about paying people to text. It's about the recognizing the value of people's time, no matter what they're doing, and because the value in the world is about the people, not really the gold or the other physical things. It's about the people. So that was my little joke.
You know what? Here's a funny. This is a funny story. This reminds me of. In one of my chat rooms, I have all these chat rooms with like about 100 people in them, all over the place, like different websites and WhatsApp and various things. And in one of my chat rooms, this guy, he spoke up, and this is when Kim and I we came up with this plan to create these create change distribution centers around, right? So we wanted to identify people that were willing to take action and sign, make an agreement with them that, look, we'll give you $1 million to set up the office space for create change so that we can identify projects and distribute funds for them. $200,000 is a salary for that person, for the first however long it takes, and the other $800,000 is to set up a temporary
Well,
office
you
space,
didn't
right?
tell me there's a salary.
That was that was that was. Yeah,
I
we'll
said, oh,
modify that.
I already volunteered. It's like, okay, but I'll
That
take.
was for other people.
Oh,
No, but I mean, but the point was, like, those are the basic parameters, right? Now, and we knew, like, because it was, you had to operate within the guidelines, but we also knew that some people, would be working out of their house, so they might, pay off their rent, things like that. That was understood. The whole idea was to get money in circulation and start to set up a infrastructure to start distributing these funds. So, because the RV had such a hold on people, um, there was this absolute demand for unlimited amount of funds for everybody, right? Like everybody should just have just a wheelbarrows of money, and if you weren't in line with that, it was because you hated puppies, right? You don't believe in freedom. So, so this guy is in my chat room, right? And he starts going, and he starts it out. He goes, "Tanks cabal." Now, I never, I mean, so rarely do I snap at people. I don't lose my temper. I don't get mad when people are upset. I just don't. But that's one of them. So here, there's a secret in. If anybody wants to really get under my skin, like, call me cabal, right? So he calls me cabal, and then he goes off about how that's not freedom, and then my admins who are like, like my Charlie's Angels, right? Like they'll go in there and like brutalize him, like watch your mouth, like remember where you're at, like put the guy in his place, right? So he was furious, right? So I call him up, I call him up, and I try to talk to him, and he started yelling at me like he said that's not freedom, and I cussed this man out so bad, and I told at the end, this is the point. I said, you know what? It's not my job to give you freedom. It's your job to take your freedom. And if you're sitting around waiting for me to give it to you, and I give people a job, and you call me cabal for that, you're a damn idiot. You don't know what's going on because the cabal's out raping kids and destroying the universe and stealing, causing fear, and you're going to compare me to that as if that's okay? That's not okay.
not okay.
I'm giving, I made a way for people to get relief. So that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's not our
Yeah,
job to put I don't think it's our job to put value on people's time. It's people's job to show us what their time is worth, right? Just my opinion, but
yeah.
it was a
I
long way to get to that
I
point.
hear
I
you.
know.
No, I hear you. I mean, this is the aspect of the internet that you have the the anonymous people from behind that become troll-like. They start to basically turn green-skinned. They grow a bunch of different warts and things like that, and they're
This is scientific fact. Please
yeah,
take
yeah.
note of
So
this.
they become trolls. I mean, it's a process, and then the venom drips from every keystroke, right? And they can't see what they're doing is wrong, right? Because they should have the right to be anonymous and say all the
Ah,
vile things that they can. No, they don't have the right, and I don't mind bashing trolls. And beat them until they go back under the bridge. That's where they belong. That's why they're under bridges. Always you depict trolls under bridges is because that's where they belong. Get back
That's where
there.
trolls belong.
Yeah. I just want to bring up something since I was talking with you yesterday. You're talking to me about this medicine. I was telling you this is the one that is here in the Philippines. It's Lagundi extract. Lagundi leaf. And so the Lagundi leaf it's literally it grows everywhere. So they'll make a natural remedy from this leaf. And of course, I bought this at a pharmacy, but it's a natural extract as a decongestant and cough medicine. Works really well.
Yeah, you sound much better today, by the way. Much better.
It's moving through its way through. I'll take some positive healing energy from everyone. That's okay. I'm all into it. So
it looks like it cleaned up your hair and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's like I've had a couple of times I said that's a dramatic haircut.
Oh, looks good, man. Looks good.
Yeah. Well, my wife likes my hair real short. Like this is a Filipino thing. They like the really really tight haircuts. But I call this my summertime haircut. That I'll do it once a year when it's like really hot, as it just to get rid of a little bit extra of insulation, I guess.
Right on.
Hey, Tui is here. Tui.
Tubaka.
They're gonna geek out again.
I know. I can't help it, man. I can't help it.
Well, I'm liking the new Star Trek series.
Yeah. I gotta check it out. I haven't followed one in a while. I can't seem to watch any series unless I binge watch it on Netflix. So I always catch things like 2 years later.
It's on Netflix. So.
Oh, okay. Well, still
Star Trek Discovery. I guess Tui is just showing up in as an icon who doesn't want to say anything today. It's okay.
Justin, I want to give Tui an icon whenever I see his S. I want to be like, hey, let's clean that up. Let's make it a T at least, right?
Yeah.
So
okay. Now, let's just talk about these centers, right? Because we kind of, you took me off track by saying there's a salary. It's like, oh, great. I actually get paid to do something. That's good.
You know what? I think the centers are a good topic of conversation because I think it's really important for people to understand what and how we're going to set this up. We have people in place already that are ready to go to really start to distribute funds. They've been working on this for a year or about a year, and basically they're in position all over the world, and it's just like Dan is going to come on board with us and do that as well. And basically, the jobs of those individuals that I always say is to, in some cases, it might just be that people recognize there's a need for such a location in their area, right? And keeping in mind these distribution centers they're not banks, they're places where people can go to basically get grant funding for their project. So they'll be able to present their project and talk to program or project managers and various other experts. And then that organization is there with the responsibility to make sure you are successful. So a lot of people have ideas they've been sitting on that, to be honest, sometimes they might be outdated by now. Not necessarily, but in some cases, right? So those are not people we wouldn't turn them away unless they're just determined that's the way to do it. But they're people that we would, say, hey, would you consider using this technology instead? This might be a better technology that we're already working with. We want people in the world to have access to the best things,
You
right?
know,
So if we, oh,
maybe
yeah,
maybe we could call these helping centers.
yeah, I'm working on the name.
Right.
I don't, helping centers doesn't seem particularly catchy to me, but um,
But I understand that the purpose is really to help them pull off the project, right? So bringing in the resources, the technical people, the other types of professionals that may be needed to help them achieve what's happening, you know. And one of the things about is maybe there's no real model per se right now, right? It's just it's going to be there might end up being five, or every one of these centers may be a little different, right? But same goals, and you have to kind of work out what's best, how to best achieve these things.
well, okay, so no, not exactly. There
Yeah.
is a, uh, there is core principles that every single location will have. So those things are already established. We
Okay.
know what those things are. There's services that must be provided. Now, but because every area is different, yes, there has to be room to modify it so that you're always putting out the best product for the area, right? And,
Well,
I'm very big on that. That everything we do has to be adaptable. It has to be something that can where people can add, right? So you give them a structure, kind of a framework to work with, and you help them put those things in place. Now, but they can add whatever is needed to make it fit for that area. And then ideally we'd like to have, kind of three phases of this, right? Where you have actual, kind of product or project identification and, funding approval and distribution. Then you really have, and then you have another group that essentially their job is to guide those people along the process, right? So they get their phase one funding, and then say, phase one was to, buy X, Y, and Z, or purchase the land and buy X, Y, and Z product. Now they come back and they say, we have this so far, and we were short, by about $100,000, right? So now we got to figure out, well, now we need to include that in phase two, right? And then we got to say, what else might we be short on then, right? And then we reassess. And now what they thought they would spend on phase two, we might have to increase it, right?
right.
Or decrease it accordingly. They might have overshot, but we'll have professionals there, right? And we'll have a group of contractors that we've already vetted, who agree that we're going to use products that are going to be owned by people that are from those towns, that are set up. And in some cases we'll go out and buy the business, right, and give it back to the town. I mean, that's how committed we have to be to this, and that's part of the process. It's going to take a little bit more, bigger thinking, right? We can't just go out and say, oh, I love this company. People call me all the time with a project, for my company, of something they heard, right? And they say, oh, this is my project. And it's like, well, that's not really your project. That's someone else's company that you want to use. But do you know that company? Do you know what they're doing? Do you know what their background is? Where are they getting their products from, right? So companies in the developmental stages who have like an incredible product line that they could develop, but they haven't yet, those companies are my favorite because we could take everything from that company and really develop it, right? We can build, the products from the ground up, everything that they're going to do. Then we know, not only did we fund that one company, but we built a manufacturing plant in,
Right.
somewhere in Idaho, right? And the people own that, right? The people who live there, who are from there, not the local robber baron who's the landlord and lives in Hong Kong, right? But the actual people, they own the land.
That's part of an abundance based model, right? Is to have where the people that are working there are also owners, because then they're fully vested in actually making sure the best product comes about. You know,
That's right.
so a lot of times these things are done. I forget which of the, like, say, I think it was Avis or her. So I don't. One of them was like employee owned, or maybe it was Enterprise. I forget which one, but they did it, and then all the employees were happy about it. But then it turns out that they own such a small portion of the company, right, that it ended up not actually, being overly like they're now, really enjoying ownership, right? They
Right, right.
they,
No,
they
that's very
work
true.
the system, to get the people engaged and wanting to be owners and acting more towards this. But over time that it loses its luster because they really are not owners. It is kind of
Well,
a new bonus system.
yeah, and that's why I'm not a big fan of, I mean, well, franchises first of all, or I don't think they're in line with the kind of grander purpose things, right? Now, if you have a model that works, right, which is basically what a franchise is, right, a replicatable business model that'll work. Now, we can modify that and say, well, because we're not going to use franchises, and to be quite honest, the same franchise is not going to work in every area unless you make every area the same,
Well, it's
right?
if I told you that what the number one item in McDonald's here in the Philippines is, could you guess what they sell?
Let's see. Um, French fries,
Nope.
filet of fish.
Nope.
What is it?
Chicken and spaghetti.
Chicken and spaghetti. Wow.
Chicken and spaghetti. Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. So you have to change your franchise model depending on where you're at, right?
Okay, but McDonald's is a terrible example, and that's
Well, I
not what I
think that
mean.
was pretty good.
Just for the record, but I understand what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But McDonald's is, I mean, they are the epitome of everything that is evil about franchising.
Yeah.
Right? But
in regards to franchising, they are like one of the leading models for franchising, right? So they did franchising the best from the standpoint of a business model, not from the standpoint of the food quality, right? But
right, as a corporate giant to make the elite very rich. I mean, that model is brilliant. It's dealing in massive numbers, very low profit on each item. A high quality of at least flavor, for each thing. And
well, let me give you I'm thinking of abundance models. I mean, I've spent like the last 3 years really focused on how do you make an abundance model. Not to say that this works. It's just because it hasn't been tried yet, but I'd love to try it out. Let's say that because I did hear what Thomas had to say, Thomas Williams, about franchises. I just listened to that yesterday. And I thought, oh, that's where it comes from. I understand. There's a third party involved with the mix, and France means free. So the third party gets free money, in essence, is what it means. Right? So the entity, the franchisor, is the one that's making money off of your efforts. That's where he was positioned, and I get what he's saying. So, but let's say that there was, a founder of a business idea. Let's just pick something. Let's say a pizza place. Right? Great, he knows how to make the best 3-layer pizza. Just to make up something off the top of my head. So this is now to be franchise. He worked out the best way to make these things, the best way to cook it. It's great. He put all the time and effort into doing this. Now he's going to franchise it. I would say if he did every franchise as a 50-50 arrangement with each franchisor, that would be honoring the other person as equal value. This comes out of the Kringle Society, TBC community. The idea of valuing each of us in our currency is coming from the people. We're tagging it onto the price of gold, and we're saying our value is coming from us. So we have to treat each other equally. So from that concept is if we come into a franchise situation where that other the franchisee is going to then work as an equal partner. Well, maybe I don't know, on the money side, maybe they each have to put in 50%, or maybe even the franchise itself decides it's putting up 100% of the money. I don't don't know. Maybe it's maybe.
I think now that actually is quasi reasonable. I still think splitting 50% of your profits, no matter what you do, is absurd. You know, maybe because if one person is doing all the work and the other person just, you know, they had their version, they had their idea, you know, in one town, and then to repeat that business model somewhere else where it might work, and they want to do that, you know, I think, you know, maybe they take, you know, 20%, if that, you know, maybe even 10%, because if you're really valuing it, it's like, okay, well, how much did the guy who started the place get paid, you know, when he put all the effort in to start the business from scratch?
Well,
Everything.
these are all different. They're different, versions of it. But the basis of is recognizing the other partner in the deal, right? Is that their effort in creating, a good business is, to be, treated like So, it's just a model, and I don't know which.
No, but I think you're on the right track. I'm just, you know, I'm trying to. I'm like, look, let's work these models out. You know, I mean, and we're going to be doing this. You know, by the way, like things like this are the things that we like. These things we don't have, you know, perfected yet, right? We don't know, and it's gonna happen on a case to case basis, and we can't dictate what everybody's going to do.
Yeah,
What,
actually, now I want to create a 3-layer pizza model company.
right?
That's not a bad idea. So you put cheese on one level, but you put and then the meat on one level, on the other level, and you decide what you want to put on each level. So I'm already creating. See, I can't help it.
I know. You'll be the first one to think of that.
I'm the first one, yeah. Documented on YouTube.
Yep. Now we know. No, you know, and I'm a fan of, you know, to be honest, I I look at this and I'm a fan of putting these ideas out into, you know, into circulation and talking about them, because like you, like, you know, I have a million ideas, and you know, I'd love to be able to just get paid every time I have a good idea and let it go into, you know, develop into a business, you know. But but at the same time, it's like, you know, I realize that right now what we have the opportunity to do is to revalue. Right now, everybody's focused on the revaluation. Well, we can revalue ourselves, right? And there is there's intrinsic value to everything we're doing. But now, if we're able to, you know, as long as we can get paid too, right? As long as we're allowed to bring, you know, the money in and do our job. Now, in doing my own job, like, you know, I'm so happy doing that. I am so happy at just the thought of what we're about to do. We're about to infuse and change the perception of the entire human race to themselves, and ultimately to every other, you know, species and race in the galaxies, universes, dimensions, right? And have that opportunity is priceless, right? Now, I want, you know, but in the same vein, I'm not going to apologize for driving a nice car or wearing nice clothes or having a nice house. And I'm not going to, you know, try to impose my will on people and say we all need to wear gray and act this way. You know, these are all things that part of the experience of freedom has to be a self-discovery, right? It has to be this, not just a willing, well, it has to start with a willingness, but it has to start with the empowerment that people realize you have the right to go find out what you can do.
Yeah.
Right. Matter of fact, I'd say you actually have an obligation. You know, if you have been given certain gifts, by not using them, you are demonstrating that you do not appreciate them.
And you're burying your talents.
That's right. Burying the talents. You tell a story? Explain it.
You go ahead.
So the way the story goes in the Bible is, the master gave out talents. He gave 5 to one, he gave 2 to another, and he gave 1 to a third. The one went out with 5. He put it to the market changers, came back with 10. The master was, my good and faithful servant, well done. The other one goes out with 2, comes back with 4. He says, my good and faithful servant, well done. The third one says, Master, I took because I know you're a hard master. I took that one talent you gave me and I buried it in the ground. And he gives him back the same talent. He's like, you evil and wicked servant, for not putting the talent that I gave you to use. And I don't know, cast him out or something like that.
It. Yeah. You have to use your talent, right? And don't bury it.
Yeah.
because it's a waste then. So in this case, wasting the effort and time and money is all burying your talent. You got to keep things in motion. It's it's okay to gather wealth, right? But if it's wealth that's not doing anything, right? It's just sitting there and not benefiting anyone else. Is it really the best thing? I'm not really talking about having a stash for a rainy day, or saving for a child's education, right? But there are reasons you want to save money. But if you've gathered so much and you can't think of a use beyond this, but you're still gathering it, you should be putting it to work in some way.
Yeah, I mean, that's to do with the money side of it, right? And then
The money side, yeah.
every other talent you have, should be put to use in some way, right? If your ability is to teach, you are doing a disservice by not teaching, right? If your ability is to sing, you should be singing somewhere, right? That helps everybody, right? If you're an artist and you're a painter, you should be painting, right? And and all of these things, they're things that are invaluable and precious. And you know what? Right now we have a market that's here on Earth, and I'm sure those markets will expand, right, to other galaxies or something someday. Who knows? You know, but they have value, because we start to see the value in ourselves and in each other, right? You know, right now any kid can go on and create their own cartoons, right? Like that's incredible, right? But it takes away from the old fashioned way of making these illustrations. But I value these old timey illustrations. They're amazing, right? So I feel like, but you don't really have a chance to do that because unless you have the money, like art, for example, is something that's only appreciated when people have extra money, right? But you know what? Buying these goods, right? Which in some cases, some would say that's excessive. Well, not really, because you're actually providing a career for someone else by your purchase and appreciation of that item, right? So there's people that make these things, right? Now, what I don't agree with is that we have all these poorly made products, all types of things that are just poorly made, right? And a vast majority of consumers, we end up buying a lot of junk. I don't think there should be anything made that's junk just for the sake of having a cheap version of it. I don't think we should do
Right.
that. There should be the best version of everything. So I'm really
High
determined to make sure
quality,
that's a
last
standard.
long, best of everything, that it could be, to achieve that, right? You have to take the emphasis off of, let's say like the razor model, right? You know, I hate getting those razors that only last for one shave.
Yeah.
They're cheap, right? I don't like to buy, the expensive razors that only last 1 week. You know,
Right.
but there is one out there that you can't find on the shelf anywhere because it lasts for 3 months,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
It's made of titanium and it lasts for 3 months. And I used to only use electric shavers. I think from the time I was mid 20s and until I was maybe, like early 40s, and then I stopped using them because the heads kept. I have to keep replacing these very expensive heads, right? It lasts me 3 months. I have to get another head. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? It didn't used to be that way. They changed the heads to force people to spend more money again. That kind of greed in the system is where it goes wrong, right? And so that should not be rewarded. So great. When we have a system that is abundance based, that should be something that is that is designed not to happen, right? Because they don't get more money for that reason, right? It's so we can again, this is just one of the my pet peeves on those things that are downplays. So I've even thought of an abundance based model, the reason why you would actually increase the 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 efficiency and increase the quality is because of the best product gets you the best return, right? And
Yep.
so we just focus on that, right? Not the razor blade model or the big pen model, that doesn't last. Now, there's nothing really wrong with a big pen model, but it is disposable and you can't do much. But it's also cheap, right?
Yep.
So there are some, but sometimes they push it too far. You know,
Yep.
I go back to the Gremlin car, right? It's designed to last 100,000 miles and fall apart.
I can't believe any gremlin could make it to 100,000 miles. That's amazing, actually.
Well, that was their goal. They just didn't quite make it.
Yeah, like the Yugo. The Yugo is another one of those, and the
Oh yeah,
Pinto. Yeah.
I think in the Yugo they did the best they could under a Soviet system. you know,
Yeah.
yeah, the communism or socialism there, and they, it's a bare minimum to just, a little bit more. I think they just need a little more bubble gum and tape to keep it going a little bit longer.
Yeah. So, um, I I don't know if you saw this. Anyone who has seen this, I did post it in Dan's chat there in the YouTube. You've got to watch what this congressman's presentation about the Green New Deal.
I don't know where you posted it because I don't see it.
Oh, hang on a second here. I'll send it to you I'll send it to you again. I'll send it to you on Telegram. It's really, really hilarious. I mean, just hilarious. Uh, but it speaks to kind of the State of the Union of how they're actually.
Hello, how they're actually. Oh, it got muted. You're muted, just in case you didn't know. Oh, and we lost him. Well, that's what happens when he sends me the file. All right. So, hey Tui, are you there? You wanna step up while we're waiting for Tank to get back on? Well, I'll take this moment just to say thank you all for helping get to 12,000 subscribers. That's fantastic. Thank you. And for all those that are giving the likes and passing out the videos, it's highly appreciated. If you would like to join me I just mentioned the Kringle Society and our TBC community. The cryptocurrency is based upon our community. We have no exchanges. It's all about using it as money to pay for things. And that's the way it's now. We're in the distribution phase. We're expanding. We have a very major impact. I can make cases to say we're probably anywhere between number one to number five. We're somewhere in there, and amongst all the other cryptocurrencies. But since we're not on the market, it's a different story. So, we're back. Hello, Galactic Unicorn. Yeah, it looks like you had fallen out of orbit for a while.
I'm sorry about that. I went to copy and paste and bumped me off. So also someone sent me this. Dan, you remember the young lady who's the head of the Airship Trust? Cindy
Yes.
K. Courier, I believe her name is.
Cindy Courier. Cindy K. Courier is correct.
Right. So I got a few messages telling me that she made a YouTube video looking for us to do projects with her. Which, you know what, if you want to talk about transmuting the energy to go from what an idiot I am and jackass and what a saint you are, but but go from that to she wants to work
Cindy,
with us to do
you're
projects.
welcome to work with us on everything. I'm glad to put some positive energy in there. We can make some allowances for Tank. Don't worry. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see. We'll discuss that in other time. Just anybody who broad scope calls me an idiot, I'm like, really? Okay. I always welcome those people to come on and challenge my intelligence on any subject, anytime. Please feel free to do that.
We can bring Cindy on. It's okay if Cindy would like to join us.
Why would she must be slumming it if she's going to be working with me, you know?
It's okay. Anyone can have a change of heart.
Well, you are absolutely right, Dan, and that is definitely true. And we will definitely talk to and work with Cindy to see what her ideas are. I have a sense that being that she's the airship, I believe she is Earth, is what I understood if I caught her correctly. We'll have to see, what happened or what she wants to do. She seems to have a very impressive knowledge of at least one version of history that I thought was, has been very fascinating. So.
Yeah, there's so much information out there. We're all just piecing it together since a lot of it has been hidden. So we do our best, and sometimes we're on the right track, and sometimes we're not, and sometimes we're falling into a psyop. Flat Earth, mud flood. I don't know if mud flood's a psyop or not. It could be. It's just when these things come out of nowhere. And I looked at a couple of videos. I said, I need a little bit more than the architecture's kind of cool like this, and this has been around for a while. I need a little on their energy systems, and I said, okay, well, show me the energy system working.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm always fascinated by that. About the one of the things I know that does happen is that there's a lot of technologies that people want, right? Like medical technologies that smaller countries have already developed, and because they're under the radar, they don't have really a big market. Like no one really bothers them, until they go in and commit genocide, like they're doing in Haiti, right? But that happens a lot.
Tank, did you send me a link or something? Because I still don't have any.
It's your Telegram. I sent you a link. It actually has a big picture of you there, smiling, by the way, from the Oh no, wait, yeah, there it is. Yeah, I sent you two to your Telegram.
I'm looking at it. I don't have it. I'll say hi back to you. Do you see my hi?
I do, and it's not in the same link. It's weird. All right, I'll send it to you now. Here you go. This will make everybody smile. This is the
okay.
Exactly how
Let me explain this on Telegram. So what you just experienced. So there is a version on the cell phones that have an extra level of encryption that is not on the desktop. So literally, you can have two conversations with the same accounts, but unless I'm on my cell phone, I won't see that particular one. I see the one you're showing me, Green New Deal. You want me to bring that one up?
Yeah, throw that up, man. It's quick. I mean, I put a little. Don't worry, there's no copyright infringement. Nothing to get worried about.
I know you say that, but
no, it's not. It's original music. Nothing.
It's all right. I'll go ahead and put it up. I'm getting the screen lined up here. I see. So is that me smiling?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Share the screen now.
Hey Dan.
Hey Tui.
Hello Tank.
Tui. What's up, man?
How are you doing?
We're just about to show a video.
I worked in a cartoon of you into this one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ready? All right, here we go.
Ah.
Tank Live, the show that discusses the issues you are afraid to talk to your friends about.
think that's my dance move.
Exact one I use. There's actual substance to this that I put on here. Middle. In a second. Tui.
That was Tui.
Yeah, let's do it.
Very Tui. That's quite a fro you got there.
I know. I told you.
Green New Deal, the real winner
Oh,
No, that's what. Watch
continue.
that. Yeah, that's what we're watching for. Just
in
watch.
all of this is Mike Lee. Now, I actually had a chance to meet Mike Lee when I was over in D.C. Cool guy. He gave us like Jello shots, not actual like with alcohol, but it was a Jello, it was a green Jello shot, something having to do with Utah, and because I don't know, it was green. I didn't know. I didn't follow. I was just like, I appreciate it, Mike, but I don't think I'm gonna have the Jello shot today, Pimpin. I appreciate you though. I appreciate you, Mike Lee. This dude went off. He went off on this Green New Deal. He's like, you know what? I'm going to have some fun with it, right? He's like, I'm going to take this as serious as the Green New Deal should be taken. And apparently that is zero.
I rise today to consider the Green New Deal with the seriousness it deserves.
Now, the first picture that he puts up is Ronald Reagan on a velociraptor, and the velociraptor is holding the American flag. Now, when I first saw this on my feed, I'm thinking to myself, someone obviously memed this, right? Like someone obviously, you know how whenever Trump signs something, they superimpose something in it, and it's like it says something crazy, or it's like a little child drawing. It's like, look what I did. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, what kind of nonsense is this? And then I was like, okay, let me click on the video. And I come to find out this is real. This is real, people. He's talking about Reagan on a velociraptor has as much to do with stopping communism as the Green New Deal has to do with climate change.
Because this image has as much to do with overcoming communism in the 20th century as the Green New Deal has to do with overcoming climate change in the 21st.
I'm like, oh boy. And then he goes to the next picture. I'm like, wait, there's more? He then proceeds to bring out a picture, and these have to be giant pictures. Like they had to print this out on something massive, right? And it is Luke Skywalker on a ton. And he's talking about, well, according to the Green New Deal, this is how Alaskans would have to travel.
In a future without air travel, how are we supposed to get around the vast expanses of, say, Alaska during the winter? Well, I'll tell you how. Tauntauns, Mr. President.
The one that lost it, I had to turn it off because I can't. No problem. The one that killed me
I want to see the next one.
was when this dude
The last one is hilarious.
was talking about Hawaii and how they can get from one landmass to another landmass. He was talking about Hawaii, and I can't believe what I'm saying. His assistant puts up a picture of Aquaman, and it's Aquaman on, what did he say, a 65-foot seahorse. And I was done. I was dead because it was like he's keeping a serious fence in all this. He's like, well, this is Aquaman, and he's on the 65-foot seahorse, and this is how Hawaiians are going to travel from now on. I was dying.
This is a picture of Aquaman, a superhero from the undersea kingdom of Atlantis. I draw your attention, Mr. President, to the 20-foot impressive seahorse he's riding. Under the Green New Deal, this is probably Hawaii's best bet.
And it's not like the new Aquaman.
All right, that's it.
Okay, it's not the new Aquaman. It's the old Aquaman. Yeah, they had more impressive seahorses, I think, back then. All right.
Too funny.
All right. Well, that is interesting. That's how the Green New Deal will work, right? Tauntauns, seahorses, and velociraptors.
Well, that's why not a single person voted for it, right? Because how could you possibly, at this point, they're completely outed that the Green New Deal is completely part of the depopulation agenda. And what I love about that is it really speaks to, let's have a real conversation and just stop playing games and pretending like all this is okay. When something is a joke, because any human being who's taking that seriously, an agenda that will eliminate humanity, that should not be taken seriously. So, and at best you can do is make it a joke, because the other version is it's tragic, right?
Yeah. Well,
Tui, you got to come back on, man. I wasn't trying to blow him up. So.
Well, I'm glad that it bombed completely, but it was so interesting that every single one of the Democrat presidential hopefuls, as they call them, right, was hoping that the Green Deal would go. I don't understand, why they can think that no one's going to miss the cows' farts. I mean, I would miss cow farts because I'd miss the burgers and the steaks. So, yeah, I know it's all about getting the carbon emissions right. They want to make sure you don't have any methane coming out, causing problems. Or if you're breathing, you're causing carbon on one side and methane on the other. You're just a biohazard. So we gotta tax you about it. So here's your tax. You're going to get your carbon credits and your methane credits.
All of these deals, all these sustainable development models are designed around eliminating the natural fuel for trees, which provide the natural fuel for humans. Just FYI.
You can actually, why do you have to cook? You can just eat raw food, right? So there's no need to cook because you're again dealing with methane, natural gases. And you don't want to have to extract, natural gas either, because that's again creating carbon when it burns. And so we got to stop cooking altogether. There's no end to it, because even when you're completely a slave and having to go to the work camps to produce things for 16 hours a day, and they give you your Soylent Green tablets that are made from the ground up people that are, given the other way out because they're past 45 years old. You're gonna they don't stop. They'll come up with something else to extract and just keep squeezing until literally there's only a machine left, because all of humanity was squeezed into nothingness. So that goal is not what we want. We have to reject it soundly, and I'm glad that we had, was it 56 or 57-0, and the rest of the Democrats just voted present. I mean, why would you vote present?
How is that? Why is that an option? That's what. What do you mean you voted present?
I mean, that's the thing. You're voting yes, but you don't want to let anyone know.
Yeah, they're voting no.
I think I'm embarrassed.
No, I think they realized that deal was about, it was going to kill them too. If they realize it's going to kill them too, how can you vote yes to that?
Well, they voted yes to the post-birth abortion. So,
right. Well, but you know what though? But we're in a new stage, right? So they're starting to wake up. So on some level, they have to be like, oh my gosh, were we actually participating in our own, genocide? So did Tui come back?
Tui is back. Hello, Tui. Tui.
You know what? I know Tui's got something really. Listen. I wanted Tui to tell people, but that's why I'm waiting for him to come back. But Tui, they did get the contract signed, and that is in Kim's hands for the sovereignty of Fiji.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I gotta say that is very
Tui's here. Hi.
There he is.
You're sort of here. Hello?
Tui is communicating with telepathy the way he communicates with the roosters at this time. So if everyone just tunes in, focuses, you'll hear him.
Hi. First of all, I would like to thank you guys for today. Thank you for this opportunity to actually be conversing to you. Even though we are so far apart, it's an amazing time that you are in. I'm very thankful for the past 2 weeks that has gone really fast, like a blink of an eye. I managed to actually get into contact or get connected to the people that is part of the soul agreement, that is the work that is being done right now on Earth. I'm thankful for everyone on the chat room, everyone that's listening live. Blessings and love to all of you, wherever you are in the world. Blessing and love from Fiji. A few days ago, as you guys all know, we've been working on the process of actually putting down sovereignty on a letter, and I'm very deeply honored and I'm very thankful for you, Tank, for the role that you've been playing, and for the most important part of how everyone is how everyone gets connected and fulfill their own soul agreement. And I guess since for the past few minutes that you guys been talking on the show, you guys actually discuss on projects that would actually allow people to experience this and to be able to make them fulfill their soul agreement, not only on the spiritual level, but on the physical expression of it. We are well here in Fiji. We are well aware, and if you've ever been here as a maybe just come for a visit, you'll understand that as you travel, as you move around, as your body moves from one point to another on the planet, you'll become you'll move your DNA, and your DNA will express itself through movement, and you'll feel that fulfillment and that growth that is you can't learn when you are on one place for a period of time. So if you stay in a place for 1 year or at the same time someone else is traveling all around the world for the same 1 year, the traveling will actually fulfill the experience of the DNA, or the experience of the soul level, that is much more much more I can't find the word for it, but it actually fulfill your soul agreement much more. So we have we understand this as part of especially here as the chiefs, and that's why we would like to heal the world in that way. When people will come here, everything will be free, and they will travel from all the different expression of this island, and they will learn from all that, and then it will change them. It will fulfill them, however they are connected to wherever it starts. And so the projects, the ideas of the projects has to be that big. Since now we can create a new fields, we should be able to do a wider range. I told Kevin, no, don't do it as a center. You see, how did you change your life? You came all the way thousands of miles, and then you come and experience all these things, which is part of the whole agreement. And to you, by doing that, you won't be surprised that you are where you're supposed to be right now at this moment, because of all this experience. And this creates healing to everything that you've been experiencing all your life. And like you've been stuck in a moment because you've been like you've been in the same place all your life. If you learn to be able to if this is understood, everyone will be able to learn to heal themselves, and to be able to learn that there is more experience that is there outside of them. And the problem is the future is it has to be done in this way, through the experience. If you wait for it and you sit still and you think about it, and that's all it's going to be, and then just focus on the problems at hand, you will never be able to grow as a person, and at the same time as an awareness, and then you will be able to move forward. And this is the reason why the chiefs are doing what we're doing. We realize that in order for everyone to grow together, we need to do this. We need to activate and move from this side. If people are focusing on one single place in time, then everyone will be stuck. And so I know there's a greater lesson for that as a whole, but yeah, I'm thankful that Kevin has come around, and within just a few days that we've been here together, we've been traveling around, and we've been doing stuff. He found healing in all of them, because there's always learning in nature and in the awareness. And I told him, see, this wouldn't have happened if you would have thought of all the, I told Kevin, when you came, you did great, because you didn't even think about what's going to happen in Fiji or whatever. If you did all that and you did all that, you'll be stuck in that moment, and you'll never ever, you won't be able to act. And so I'm thankful to him that he said that it comes from the heart, and that his body just has to do it. And I said, yep, that's how the future has to be. It has to.
Dewey.
Oh, hi.
I just want to introduce you to my wife. This is Joy. Say hello.
No.
Hi, Joy. It's nice to meet you.
Also, Stefan here, also known as Tank. He's the galactic unicorn.
Also known as the Galactic Unicorn.
The White Lion is here also.
Oh yeah, Kevin, someone else is there with Dewey.
The White Lion is also here too.
The White Lion. Yeah. He can't show himself because he has long hair like the rock band from the 80s. So
the camera is off.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a problem with the network. As soon as I put up the camera, you guys get.
I'll be back to you because she's going to be taking off, so I'll be right back. So.
But go ahead, so you can keep talking.
Yeah, so I just want to share the experience that we've experienced these few days. That actually Kevin came in with a lot of ideas, good ideas, and then now the ideas is starting to evolve, and starting to reorganize. I told him, see, you have to try and think outside of the box, and to be thankful to yourself for doing the experience that you're doing. And now it enables you to open up your mind to more probabilities of how you can actually change the future, and how you can help other people just like you, having that same experience and soul agreement experience that they will be able to fulfill. And in this fulfillment, they will find, they will relearn what sovereignty is within their life. And that's, basically what I truly believe all the projects has to aim on. It's like what you're saying, Tank, that it has to nurture the experience, and then as the mind, the physical body goes through time, through the experience, the person or the awareness fulfills its own, her own or his own soul agreement, and for thousands of years, that is what the plan is from a soul level. There are people that are coming now, children now from different timelines or future timelines. People will call them interdimensional beings that are on the planet that are, I call them the Orphim. They're just coming to actually live this present moment now and change the awareness to the future. And so by them just being born here, they change the experience of everyone, so that they can think outside. They can think outside of the slave system, and they can help themselves, be fully aware. I was part of that program when I was born here, and I'm one of the few lucky people that never forgot where I came from. Since I was young, before even I was born, when I was in the womb, I still remember everything, and that's why I'm just a little, like a little different from normal people. I can remember even before I came to this planet, and I remember where I come from, and during my life, I tend to, because of the body, I tend to forget it, and then I came back from my future to remind myself, and then it's 33 years. I could never discuss it with anyone, especially here. I'm supposed to keep it until I'm 33 years old. It's part of the 7 years growth that the body has to go through every 7 years. So I'm now in my fifth, seventh year. So 33 to 28 to 35, and that's my fifth. And there will be other people in the chat room or with the Tank or in the future. They will have. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I'm in my eighth.
Yeah. So whatever our seventh your DNA is in right now in development, that's part of the balance that the Earth has asked you to be in, and to wherever you are on the planet, that's part of the balance. You are balancing the morphogenetic field of the planet, the energetic magnetic energy of the planet, and by being able to discuss what you're discussing right now, and sometimes it goes to levels of red pill, but it's okay. Everyone that's in this in listening right now, they are all like in that same level. If they want.
Dewey, I actually have gone. I can go back in 7-year segments and see that things have left that I actually naturally like have a major change every 7 years.
Oh yes, that's how the body develops. Every 7 years, you're a different person.
Yeah.
And so first,
my last 7 years, I came to the Philippines, and I'm here now on my 8th, starting while living in Asia.
Yes. Yeah. So only you will be able to fully understand the reason why you are there, and fully understand the role that you play with the people there, with the native people there, with the environment there. You will always find that deep connection that no one else can explain. But these things, I told Kevin, you don't need to explain everything that you're experiencing. You are already, just by being who you are. And every time you try and calculate or put it into words or put it into numbers or try to make sense with it in numbers, you will get lost in the illusion. And you will never be on the now moment that you're supposed to be. And so that's that's the challenge that everyone has to learn. They will try and calculate or even try and theorize quantum physics, try to explain them, but it's really simple. You are the universe. You are everything that is outside of you. You don't need to explain it again in physical sense or put it into senses and then try and get perception so you can satisfy your awareness or your ego. Whenever you do that, you are losing yourself, and you are losing and wasting. You can only see that as a gift, like how you guys were talking about talents. And that's what talents is. It's just everything outside of you. Whether you value it in money, or whether you value it in colors, or in frequencies, or in your relationships with everything around you. That's what makes you sovereign. And this is all your gift as a sovereign being. And so everyone, since we're talking about 7 years old, seven rhythm, and in the Bible we understand that 7 years. There was a king in Nebuchadnezzar. He had 7 years to learn his lesson. He wanted to, think highly about, and then he thought highly about things of this world. But then his awareness taught himself about who is the most important thing. And then he ate grass for 7 years. 7 years, and then his own body teaches him that lesson. There was nobody outside of him. His own body teaches him. And so at the end, then he realized that the awareness within, or what they call God, is the most powerful thing. It can do anything it can if it wants to do. And so a big lesson for everyone that is at this now moment about how to actually project energy and be careful of where they put where they actually focus the energy on the different kind of thoughts of all the political environment that is happening all over the world, the economic environment, money, and all this. Wherever we put our energy in, that will be the timeline we create, and then we'll be stuck on that, and we'll try and figure out and try and move forward, and we will always be stuck because that's what we are creating. And so, and that's how the awareness works. Whatever you focus on, you will be creating. And so, when we become victims and when we learn all this lesson, there's no one to blame but ourselves because of unawareness of what the self really is. And I shared it with Kevin that if you would have, I asked Kevin, if I told him if you would have thought of all the problems that you have, the money and the tickets and all that, and out of the 370 million people or 75 million people in the US, and you are here at this moment, at this time, if you would have, think of, oh, I need money to go to Fiji, I need all these, maybe, think all the possibilities that, and then you'll never be able to make or move forward in time and to learn a different expression of yourself. You'll be stuck because you're always creating the same environment by just thinking about them. And that's one of the most important point that he's actually learned. Then coming here, learning to be, I try to teach him not to concentrate and focus on things outside of him. Try to fix everything, or try to, as a small thing. I told him that he's the only one that fully controls himself. You should be able to let everything outside of you, just let them flow on their own, and you go with them. It's like a wave. Don't go against.
I want to make a prediction.
Yes, go ahead.
That Kevin's going to be there for 7 years.
Basically, if Kevin, from now onwards, if Kevin leaves Fiji, his DNA is actually part of the place, so he's not leaving at all. So he's getting attuned to everything that is here. So he'll just come. He basically now is a native, and just by the protocol that was done to him the day, he's basically, like he's gonna come to Fiji like it's like his home, and everyone could recognize. Even the chiefs were talking about his spiritual energy. I tell him, Kevin, in the US, you'll be feeling out of place because of some, like the spiritual expression that's within you. But in Fiji, he just feel like home because everyone accept him, as he is. Not no judgment, with no, and this is how people are healed, because they finally figure out that they are, they're not, things that they may, other people in where they are may take for granted. Over here, everyone is valuable, according to, the expression that they may be, because they are born with it, and that's how they play. That's how their sovereignty will exist in this place. And it's a lesson for everyone to be able to see that within each and everyone, and to be able to live and coexist and learn how to express that love towards to everyone around you. And so, like I said, it's a very big lesson to everyone. They will have to learn that, and it's all about expressing love. And if that can be the main factors unconditionally, then we'll be able to heal and move forward. So yeah, like you guys are saying, the experience.
You're right. It's you have to not live in fear. You just have to go ahead and go with what you feel is the best thing at that moment. When I moved to the Philippines, I did not have a plan to move to the Philippines. I was just here on a vacation, and I never left. So there was reasons, that I was brought here, and I know that I spent these last 4 years here doing things that in preparation for what I thought was the GCR. a global currency reset, and then that was then transformed into something something a little bit different, right? It wasn't the GCR, but it's still the same mission.
Yes,
It is,
yes, it's still like from a perspective, it's still a GCR, but it's not the way they think it is.
right.
And so the way the theme of it is different. The GCR, the theme for the GCR and the theme of what we're doing now is totally it's part of the agreement of sovereignty of each and every individual, not just people but animals. The GCR will actually be the GCR won't be fulfilling that agreement, and so the galactics understand this. Some of them, because a lot of them were influencing the timeline, influencing the people that are living on the planet. They came here, they tried to give ideas, and they understand how the monetary system works. They try to do some agreements with the leaders of the countries, and they involve, and then what is happening. But they mean well. They are doing that out of love. But ultimately, they also figured out that they were not actually helping the evolutions of the people or the sovereign people of Earth. They're actually limiting it, because they've done these thousands and thousands of cycles ago. They all thousands of years. They tried to actually help out because they think basically we are just them, but they are just from a future, from us. And so it's like if I'm living here and like a movie, then I go back to my past, and when I was young, I try and go and teach my younger self about things that about what it means to be this and be that. But then at the same time, I don't I don't realize that my younger self has his own rhythm and his own awareness that he has to learn on himself. And so that's what the galactics are actually doing. And we, the collective mind, have taught them that you have to agree to the peace treaty, so that no one is actually has influence from outside. And this is the only way that everyone can express true sovereignty, and everyone on Earth has sovereignty. And so they understood they understood the collective awareness of the planet, and they are guarding they are guardians. They are specializing in the air, specializing in the water, specializing in the forest. They're all looking after that. Even though people are complaining about, you have these chemtrails and all that. No, the galactics are looking after that. Don't worry about it. They are just they want to actually give you an environment or people that are living right now to be able to choose for themselves and to be able to create the future for themselves. And they won't tell anyone that that they are looking after the planet, but they are there. Believe me, the people from in Earth that I've been connecting with and talking with, they are already protecting everything. They're making sure there's nothing, no fighting or no killing of mass destruction and all that. And so it's part of the peace treaty. And now I'm saying it out. It's gonna come to the collective mind of everyone that's listening in, and everyone will be, trying not to focus on these things that you might think that is negative, because that's how the old system works. They will try and get you. You'll hear about how Thomas Williams always talk about cycles of programs. Like September 11, about that, and then they bring it up again now so that people can focus it again, and move them and keep them still. And so, as soon as we understand that, then we'll fully understand that we are the one that are creating the reality. If you want to move forward, we have to forget about all that, leave that behind, and just move forward. And the future will just come to us, because the future is just within you. The now that you want is always within you. And so I know it's everyone has their own rate and learning and all that. And so that's why you'll see that's the bigger picture of why we, the chiefs here in Fiji and the people of Fiji, are doing what we're doing, claiming the first step and maybe showing the way to other countries or the other native tribes or other governments that want to change, that they ultimately have the power, and they should be able to actually do that. And I'm thankful. I'm already spiritually in contact with the chiefs in Hawaii, because they've been waiting for us for a very long time, and they're aware for quite a few years now. And so, we'll create this future together, and that's what I see as the immediate future of the process that we're doing right now in Fiji. We'll reach out to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't say anything. There was a break in the break. But.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think the first thing that we will be doing is reaching out to all the native tribes around the Pacific. That is Hawaii, the end of the time, and with the beginning of the time, and the Solomon Islands, Tonga, Vanuatu. These are all our atoll tribes, and we see that as our role as part of the tribes that are here, and part of the spiritual agreement of everyone in the Pacific. The Aboriginal community in Australia, the Maori in New Zealand, the Tongan, the Samoan, the Kanaki. We will do this as soon as we actually end the process, and Kim does her part on the role of on making a nation or a group of tribes sovereign. And so she understands and she knows her role on it, and together we'll be able to create it together, and no one will be able to stop us, because if we look carefully, ultimately we are the only one that is stopping ourselves, and so that's a lesson that we have to learn individually, and as a group, as a tribe, and then as a collective. And I know we're in a very beautiful time now that we're able to do this. And I'm like I said, I'm always thankful. I'm always thankful that this process. I thought it will take another 6 months to be able to reach out to Tank and to do this to be able to reach Kim, and it just happens within 2 weeks, and it's accelerating in every way, in every aspect, and we will do that. And then Tank, you're listening right now. So as soon as we get ours, we'll get everyone here in the Pacific, and we'll create a community of healing for the planet. And it's not going to be a small center. It's going to be an entire Pacific that we have all these different gifts of talents that we have, that people will come and experience, and they will learn, and together we'll just grow, and they will do the same in the area, and we'll cycle up the whole planet. People will be moving around, healing the planet. We'll heal the people. Yes, we'll heal the people we'll heal the people wherever they are. We'll heal the people in the Middle East out of love, just bring them here, experience all these. They will change the way they think, because they've been stuck there for thousands of years. That's why they're fighting for the place. But they don't know that they don't own the place. They don't own the land. They are the land. The illusions of ownership and all that is just a gift. And if they keep living in the space of illusion, they will be stuck, and there will never be peace. And it's a very simple lesson, but if you take it, that's why it's quite hard to get out of it. And people, you can lose lives, millions of people through time. And so I know it's a bright future ahead of us. Kim can feel it, and everyone can feel it. And we are here in the front line, and I'm thankful for everything that you guys have done, that Dan, that you've come up with, even without plans. Just like what you said, you did this out of plan. So like out of even planning, you just call each other and start up a show, and there I am listening to it, because I was trying to find out what's going on with the GCR and people who are lost in it. And like I'm thankful that Tank has actually come out from it. So it has given me a chance, and not just a chance, green light to actually raise our team because of the lesson that has been learned. And I'm grateful, thankful to everyone. I'm just peace and love and blessings from Fiji to everyone, to both of you. Thank you.
So I do it. Go ahead.
Yes.
So no, I wasn't going to say anything important.
I was just going to say that when you're talking with the Galactics or the subterranean groups, do they also comment about the rooster?
Oh yeah.
Listen, I speak fluent rooster, by the way. I don't know if I told you that, Tui, but I speak fluent rooster. I can tell you what he's saying. So the first 3 times he was saying amen. The last time he said, "That's my dog. Go ahead and tell him, Tui." So I feel like he's very in tune with the message. So
And one day in the future, you'll understand why you are hearing the roosters right now. And you'll be able to understand the spiritual connection I have with the people of what you call the bird people. And every time you're talking and they are doing that, and this I won't talk about it now, but it's in the future you'll be able to understand where the Ra collective comes from and how we are given this task to be guided. And so the everything is it's not coincidence. So just based on that, and I'm thankful, and we are also thankful.
I love it, man.
That's
hey,
good. Thanks
Tui,
again.
Yes, Tank. Go ahead.
The other day, man, I saw I don't know if I should be talking about this on the call, but I will. I saw an angel for the first time in my life. It was like water flowing over, like the Invisible Man, right in front of me. The light of the sun came down through this tree, and right in front of me, an angel stood right in front of me, about 14 feet high, with wings wrapped around in front of him, and just stood there and looked at me for about a minute straight. We just made connected and saw. I couldn't really move, to be honest, but so I figure must be good things are happening. Is my point. Must be good things are happening.
My spiritual energy, if you understand, if you know how to actually move in your maybe in your what you call we call it in dream time. In Fijian we call it Tantra. Tantra it means you'll be able to learn how to walk within your spirit and move around. And the people where I come from, if you see them in spirit, they will look like what you're talking about right now. They will be very, very tall, 14 to 16 to 20 feet high, full of light, and the brightness will go right through the soil and through the walls and you'll be able to see them if you are looking in your spirit eye. And as like you Tank, you have that special gift. You are you can connect with them so easily. And so they just come and they just come and try and let you know that that even though you're concentrating all these negative energies, negative thoughts, just to let you know that they are here, and they assure you that they are all guiding this reality, and nothing will happen from it. And a lot of I try not to talk about physical power because we don't have that. It's just it's called sovereignty, the sovereignty of the beings that's within us that we are connected to, even though we don't have a conscious connection to them. But our higher self, or what you call future self, are very powerful. And so once they focus to create something, they will guide it. And even though this is the reason why the Great White Throne actually stepped down out of free will, he just he was overwhelmed with all the beings that are sovereign, much more sovereign than the level that he could actually handle, and they just end up killing each other about it. And so there are things that maybe I should not talk about because I really want like I said, free will to actually be the main factors of how the new future should be created. I don't want it to be manipulated by what I say, and sometimes you'll experience this, and they just come and they try and balance. That's all they do. And if you connect to them Tank, you will find out that in the future, this is just for you because you said it out. That guy that you're looking at is not a different guy; it's just you, and that's your role, and your role to be able to fully understand that because that's you from a different timeline. And that's the only reason why you're looking at him, and you are actually communicating. But because you think you are still in the physical body, you will think that you are different from them. And this the body, the distance, the space, the time, this is created by the physical body. And if everyone learns how to control and understand it, they will always connect to the inner energy that is the planet that is in the time that is in the future, and they will always be calm and relaxed because everything is like a being. It's just gonna walk on its own, and they don't need to force or correct anything. They'll just have to. They will just correct themselves by this self-realization and this self-awareness, and they will learn to be one with everything around them in the physical level and also in the spiritual level. And so, if you are getting connected to yourself, because it's just you, just because of your the physical body, that's why you think it's different. And that's the learning that you will have to learn from your higher self, which is you will realize that he's not male or female if you look at him properly. It's just us in the future, and in that future probability, we are not actually male or female. We are complete. And so this is, but just now in the now, we have to learn this lesson of separation. And as you grow, if you meet him more and more, then you'll be able to learn a lot, and then you'll be able to learn from him, and then finally you'll realize that he's just you. Yeah. And so, like I said, it's not a coincidence that we are talking about this and we are here now in this moment, because the energies are getting closer and closer together. And so if people will be able to open up their mind or their spiritual eye and be free from all the gift of illusions and all the beliefs that they've gone through all their life, and then recorrect them, revalue them, they'll be able to fully realize all these potential that they have within them, and then they will recreate the future that is ahead. And so, yeah, just introduce yourself to you. That's what I'm doing here.
Just introduce yourself to you. I like that. That's what we should have titled the call.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
love it, man. Love it.
It's always funny when people come to me and they see themselves and they don't know that it's them, because they're looking at it in a physical way, and they don't realize the only reason why they are communicating because they are within themselves, and just because of the different in time and agreements that your physical body has now and what is coming then. That's why you look at him and he's away from you, and you sometimes you'll be scared of them, sometimes you want to understand them, but now because they can just see you in one moment, maybe 1 minute, and then you'll take 4 to 5 years to realize what they said then. And that's the true difference between the physical body and the spiritual energy. And so this is why I ask people to learn about the body, learn about who they are physically. So when this thing comes in, they can easily translate it, easily translate information from the spiritual essence to the physical level, so you can create awareness and it. And it's a good thing now that we're talking, and that's part of the agreement. So now you're talking, and I'm explaining it to you. I'm putting into your physical awareness so you can actually understand. And after this call, you'll sit down and you will fully understand what it means. And you will, it's called it's an activation of what your soul or your DNA is. And so, yeah, that's what I meant through experience. That through experience, your soul will be able to fully express itself, fully understand itself, and and that's how the future can be created, and everyone grows together. Yeah, sorry. I can continue.
I have a question. I was letting Tank respond because, but how would you be able to tell the difference between a future you angel and a different entity angel?
Right. Don't. You must remember the awareness within is everything. That's the first thing that you remember. And the question I like.
Hello. Cannot hear you. You're faded out. I think it's internet connection.
Sorry.
Say again.
I'm disconnected. Yeah, but it's like I said, because the body creates everything. So if you have fear, then you create your yourself, the fear self outside of you. And if you and then if you go manifest it in your mind, and that's a good thing about here on the planet on Earth.
Oh, we've lost you again, Tui. Okay, well, I think Tui is gone. The internet must be giving up. Oh well. All right. Well, hey, Tank. It's only me. I'm the only one here. Okay. Well, I asked the question because if there is a 14-foot tall angel in front of you, it's just going on. Say, well, I would automatically know it's me, or if I had the impression that it was me, how would I know? Maybe it's a 14-foot tall other entity angel that is want to bring in a message. Maybe it's from the future, maybe it's from now, maybe it's. But what would it be? How would you be able to tell? So that's why I was just wondering if there was a way. But I guess internally you could, if you had that as a possibility, it's a possible you future self. What do you think, Tank? I think I hear you back.
Yeah, I think so. No, I mean, what Tui said is familiar to me. I know what he's talking about, and I'm not, I've been seeing various things for a while, so I don't get afraid, and I also understand to some extent that these are interpretations that are just different versions of myself.
Well, at least you're going to be much taller later.
That's what I'm thinking. I feel like I'm not done growing. I feel good about that. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Get a little translucent, and have some severe height. You can go 1-to-1 with the pharaohs.
1-to-1. Yep. Well, I do appreciate the idea of your future self coming back to direct you as well. I did have an experience back in June 1st, where I had an entire experience where I was 500 years in the future, and I was telling a story about right now. And I wrote it all down. I put it on the Speak Project, But so I can appreciate that. When Tui talks about his future self coming back to remind him who he was, it's definitely. I can also appreciate the 7-year cycles. I'm 42, so it makes sense that we're getting ready to start a new cycle, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely in the middle of a cycle.
Sorry, I went out there. Hi, Dan. Sorry.
Yeah, you're back.
I kind of. Yes. Yeah. I kind of lost you guys.
No, we're right here.
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like I said, because I was talking about the spiritual side of what our relationship is or with the galactics, or whatever probability they may be coming from, whatever timeline they going, whatever people may call them, because there are a lot of them that are here or living on the planet. You have people from the timeline of the Pleiades and all these the stars, collective of the Pleiades, which is we are part of, and the Actuaries and all these galactics, the Galactic Federation, the people from they call them the Alliance, the Guardians, people from the inner Earth, and the probability of the people from inner Earth, which is just a few years ahead of us on what we are actually trying to do now. And so every galactic, all these are just us from different probabilities and timelines. And so a lot of them are trying to come and help transition of the planet, and then they are being born here within the past 30 to 40 years, 50 years, and it's not, like it's not a surprise that, and there are other probabilities that are so far ahead in the future, there are billions of years, that when they come back, we see them as I call them the Seraphim and the Elohim, and which is also from our past, because we are just trying to. It's confusing to normal people, but for me, it's I understand it really well. How they are just us, and they were the part of the creation of this three-dimensional reality. They are part of your DNA, and that's why you can do all these things that you're doing on the planet. Some of them goes to the negative side of what you are. Some of them, the Elohim, goes to the positive side of the collective, and they are foundations of these energies, and they live there. And so, just a few years ago, when the peace treaty was signed, a lot of these that are part of the dark energies has already gone, has already changed, has already because they've completed their role, so that things can be learned on the planet. And so this will become clearer as we move forward, and that's why we are in this stage, and we are connecting to them very, very strongly. That's why we are talking about them now. Right now, as we talk about them, we are already connected to them. We're connected to the Elohim, connected to the Seraphim, the Cherubim, the Oraphim, who are the children that are born, that are being born now, and for the last from beginning of 2000 and up, and to actually help in the change of the planet. So this change is not, no one can actually stop it. It's just like I said, just a being that was angry at the time, and now it's calm down and relax and regenerate. And every part of the cell of the being will have to adapt to the change. If they don't, then their purpose and they will be irrelevant. And that's how everything works. And so if people still don't know they're part of the cabal and all these people that don't still know that their role has changed, they have to just to be reminded, because otherwise the collective awareness or the spiritual energies will just remove them by itself, and they will, because they're irrelevant to this timeline. And so it's not by force, everything has to be is gonna be done out of love. We're just in the beginning. That's why there are some things that some people are still holding on to the hard past, to the fears, to the doubt, to the and they're always going to be stuck on that moment. And they will always create that time. And so these are lessons. But as soon as became complete her role as what she's supposed to do, the speed of the change will accelerate. It will accelerate really fast, because the awareness will just change, and that's what her role is. And this will accelerate not just like from there in the States, around the world. They will fully realize that the planet has come to a state of rest and regenerate, and it's time to stop all the overwork, all the enslavement of the self, because that's simply just it. And then self-awareness, regroup, and reconnect to the planet as a whole. And yeah, people, out of wisdom, they will just figure it out. And so I always tell Kevin, you don't have to force it on anyone. Everyone has their own time, and they will see it. Only there's just some energies that has to be focused right now, and some role that has to be played fully, so that this can become more apparent. The change can become more apparent. And so this is the reason why the Tall tribes here in Fiji are doing what we're doing. We're just fulfilling the role that we're doing, and if Kim will fulfill her role, it will just burst. And like I said, when we have this celebration, we'll everyone. I will invite you there. Then, don't worry, we'll pay for your tickets, and everyone that's in the test room, you will be part of this celebration. We'll be moving all over Fiji, and yes,
Let's go.
yeah,
Hey Tui,
yes,
I remember a couple years ago, I want to say 2017, when Kim was talking about the celebration of celebrating this all into reality through like song and dance and all these things. Now
yes,
that is a kind of a pending unified celebration, right? When all the tribes are their
yes,
sovereignty is recognized, and
yes.
that sounds like you've been doing things of that nature already while Kevin's there, right?
Yes, because like I said, we like there are deeper lessons that there are souls around the planet that have deeper roles that can be understood. I mean, the chiefs, when they saw him, so Kevin, they understood the DNA and his soul agreement, and that is part of this already beginning celebration. And we he was recognized, not just recognized, but welcome royal, and he was like every single thing that the ceremony that they go through with it. Even though like I told Kevin, that's your spiritual agreement. You came here just in time of the signature, and you're able to represent everyone from Europe, everyone from the States, through the DNA that you through your family, through every connection that you have to the planet, and to be able to have someone like that, witnessing that it carries what you call the weight, which is just sovereignty. It gives it its true value and essence, which is comes from the spiritual side of things. And so they are very thankful, and it means a lot to have him here. And he also understood and fully learned the lesson that he was here to learn. And together, by expressing this respect and love for each other, everyone learns and grows from it. And there's a deeper lesson that is learned in on the individually in each side, both sides, and then in the collective of the planet. And so this affects everything. And so the time that celebration, cleansing, I call it. Today you actually talking about. Dan, you were playing the video about the Vatican and the Pope trying to recorrect themselves. And I told Kevin, no, it's not their job. The job, the people will be the one to be forgive them, and that will add value to what they are looking for. Because if they don't have forgiveness from the people, then I'm sorry, they will always be looking for that. And that awareness has to be done to like everyone that was affected by what they have done for the past 100 years, thousands of years, whatever has been done. We have to collectively forgive each other. And if we don't, then we'll still perpetuate the same lesson that we already learned, but still always trying to learn, and still getting us stuck on that moment. And so the sovereignty of the Vatican has is no longer existing, because the agreement has come to an end, and all the sovereignties that come from the thousands of years ago till 2017, when the trust has changed its name, all the sovereignty has liquidified, or not existing anymore, has nullified. So if they want to do, if they want to actually renew or redo whatever they're doing, they have to align themselves with the new agreement, with the new treaties. And so, right now, no one else in the planet, even the chiefs in Fiji, we don't recognize anyone else apart from what Kim represents right now, because we fully understand the time that is on now and the spiritual energy that's on the planet right now. And so we understand the changes that are happening. Even now that we are facing economic crisis here in Fiji, there's no money at the banks now. Our government workers or public servants, like they are going on strike because of there's no money, and the government can't. The prime minister tried to look for it from where he used to get it from before. Now no more. They are not getting it from the United Nations. They're not getting it from the IMF. They're not getting it from the World Bank. They're not getting it from anywhere. Before they used to use the Vatican Bank. Now no more. The Islamic Bank in Arabia, no more. Not the Asian Development Bank, HSBC, and our government has all their debts on all these banks, and so that is why, like I said, everything will just work together. And if we'll be able to do our role, and if Kim will be able to do a role, that will be a big lesson for everyone here in the country, especially here in Fiji, for the change that is coming in. And it will enable us, the normal people, the people that on like living and breathing flesh and blood, to be able to work together with the so-called our local government, and talk with them and reintroduce them to the new change that is happening. And we'll do it so simply because it's just like they're just normal people wearing government hats. And if I come to them, they're just native to us. Like I said, it's so easy to go to the prime minister. I even know him personally. And if I tell him all this and that he's been enslaved, he's going to change. And he's going to change the whole government. And so everyone to the military and all that.
That's pretty much how it
So
works here. So.
we are at like a very important time, even a very important point in time here individually in Fiji, as a government or as a nation, as the people, and we're actually looking forward to it. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, indeed.
You're looking forward. We're looking forward to it.
Sorry, go ahead, Tank.
No, I'm not saying anything. I was just make sure I was
Well, too, you're still getting the hang of taking a breath, and you're you're stopping. We weren't trying to break it in, but I do hear you, and I think that this forward. On the basis of you're going to have to tell that to the prime minister. It's the prime minister, and things will change after that. You have to recognize the debt-based system, remove yourself from it.
It's kind of magical when you think about what he's talking about, though, because Tui's talking about having a first-hand relationship with the prime minister. And talking about the government.
Yeah, because sorry, go ahead, Tank.
Yeah, but the government there is really they're experiencing a financial liquidity crisis.
Yeah.
So because they're having a liquidity crisis, the money's not there. Now this is exactly what we've been saying for a year is coming for everybody. And now Fiji's a small island, so they're probably feeling it faster, right? It would make sense.
Well, where would they normally get their money? Right, it would be from the Fed.
Right, the Federal Reserve, the IMF, the AIIB, all these different organizations which have essentially been shut off.
Right.
And it speaks to exactly what I've been saying, is that the Kim is cut them off. They have no power. So today, when Kim is, talking about General Dunford making one last attempt to steal everything or to kill her, as she's being hunted, which I find to be really, to be quite honest, incredibly ignorant, being that she's one woman who's taken down every single thing you sent at her. At what point do you realize that you don't have the power you think you have, And but to Tui's point is that we are, folks are making a new age, right? Folks, and all this is just part of it. Tui, I kind of I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Dan.
I saw something else, and it speaks to your point about the it's not just our higher selves or our future selves, so to speak, that is available and here, right, to kind of guide us. It's also the future selves of the other side, so to speak. And I did see something that part of what Kim, you tell me if this is right. Now, Kim has never said this to me. This is just something I've concluded. That part of Kim's role has been to give them an offer to take a different path here at the end and be part of the solution. And their silence or their lack of action to accept that offer or to honor any of the agreements that they have committed to has basically committed them to another path, because they've decided, no, we're not going to compromise. We're going to try to win it. We're going to try to enslave you again for another 26,000 years. Because they made that choice, essentially they chose an entirely different path that is not, from what I could tell, what I would imagine is their future selves are here too, letting them know that they that they have to go a different path to learn the lesson that they came here to learn.
Indeed. Yeah, but eventually, like I said, everyone has a different lesson that they have to learn, and then once they learn that, it will complete or their soul agreement, whatever agreement they've already. Whatever soul agreement they have, whether it's part of the negative side or whether it's part of the positive side, because that's how this lesson has to be learned. And it's not the lesson can only be learned when there's two sides. And so and when these two sides will meet in the future, the lesson will be complete. And the probability how it works, it totally depends on the on the decision of the spiritual being that is there. And if they don't choose, or if they don't do that, then they will leave it to the next generation to be able to change the agreement. And so that is going to pass down to the next generation, and then the children that are born now, they don't have control for that, because there are guides, the spiritual guide that actually guide the spiritual essence of the planet, that through time, it can take 100, 200 or 1,000 years, but it will change. And so if you try to stop it now, their children will change, or their grandchildren will change. And so it's not, it's just them trying to learn that lesson and teaching everyone else around them the lesson of love. And so if you can love them because of their unawareness or their own free will, and that's what fully, I know Kim understands that fully, and she will never try and take that and try and control that, because this is part of what this change is all about. These are all the lessons and experience that has to be experienced. And so it's right, it that is correct. And like I said, there are some things I don't like to talk about because of how it can affect the decision of how people make decisions. And we just have to stick with whatever choices they've chosen, and then we'll ourselves will be able to learn how to express the love that we express. And this is what sovereignty is, and this is how sovereignty will grow, with how awareness within everyone grows. and how the relationship between each sovereign being around them. And so, yeah, it's a lesson of wisdom. Yeah, and thank you so much for that statement, Tank.
Well, I'm like everybody else trying to understand, man. So this is exciting, Tui. You know, I feel like a marked energy shift has happened. Um, you know, with everything, it just feels like just a very incredibly positive time that everybody's kind of waking up to.
Yes, indeed. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm always thankful. Because the problem is, it's just words, but spiritually, I'm full of gratitude, and I'm always happy every moment that even though I'm so far away from you guys, I feel believe me, I feel you.
Yeah, likewise.
And I'm thankful for that. Thankful for all the love that you guys like you guys are learning, you guys are expressing. I thank Kim and all the team for the love that they are learning and expressing. And the more you go through all this experience, the more wisdom we all gain from it, and the more we'll be able to create a new future that is ahead of us.
Well, I think we need to do this not in 100 years or in 10 years, but this year, and move forward quickly. We can do this, and we're already building up to such a great pace.
Sure.
Things are happening.
Yeah, that's right. Basically,
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yes, indeed. Basically, just by talking about it now, it is accelerating the awareness and everything. And so,
yeah, we can see that the things that we're doing are having an effect. That's why I pointed out, in the very beginning of this is, what's happening with the Pope is just one of the instances of an energy shift. The stuff happening in QAnon has moved around to where it's very much now going from defensive to an attacking position, basically to beat it back now. So I think that we're going to see a lot over the next 6 months, and that I think is including us moving our projects, create change centers, general countries coming on board, starting with Fiji being the first in the public to come out publicly and accept the position in, and I think then we'll have all the other 9 island nations start rolling too. I see it all happening, so we're set. So we are in our third hour. Right, we're right there. So this is the time to break, and we can come back tomorrow, and we'll continue on. So I appreciate everyone joining in, and again, thanks for getting us to 12,000 subscribers. And please like.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, we crossed over last night. 12,000.
Thank you.
Actually, I was looking. We had remember I said 1.1 million.
Thank you so much.
We had 1.8 million minutes viewed in the last month, last I guess 30 days. So that's tremendous in itself. So it's actually higher. Actually, kind of weird, right? Because I just saw this yesterday. It's 1.3 million views. Not views. Minutes viewed in the last 30 days, and today it's 1.8 million. That's that's a 500,000 more views in a day's difference. So it doesn't add up with our total views that we have actually showing on episode by episode, video by video by video. If you add them all up, there's definitely some distortion here. So we are reaching much more people than is being visible by the number of views. Of course, now YouTube will get in the background now that we've identified the problem for them. They're going to go in and correct it now, so it's not going to show up that way.
No, Dan, that is not true, man. You're speaking that into existence. YouTube is no longer in charge, man. We just
That's all right. It doesn't matter what their
Nice.
hanky pinky is behind the scenes. You know, it doesn't matter. Still are going to make it around the world to everybody, and everyone's going to know about it. Doesn't matter which way it happens; it's happening, and it's going to happen even faster. The more they put up against it, the faster it goes.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Well, again, thank you, everyone. Goodbye. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Any last words?
Nope.
Thank you.
Peace
Thank
out.
you, everyone. Thank you, everyone,
All right.
for listening.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thanks,
bye.
Tui. Thanks,
Thank
Dan.
you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Blessing and love.